Hello and welcome to Getaways,
the show that puts you lot in the driving seat.
This week we're in the home of Oscar Schindler and Pope John Paul II.
It's a hotbed of culture attracting artists, sculptors and writers.
And it is heaven for history lovers.
Yep, this week we're in Krakow in Poland.
On our website we asked you for your recommendations on what to do here and what to avoid.
Coming up, we check out the best ways to see the city. I visit an underground chapel created entirely from salt.
Can I lick the balls?
We explore the city's Jewish history, and I find a great way to take in the sights along the Antrim coast.
You can fly from Belfast or Dublin to Krakow and flying time is around 3 hours. You know, Krakow has been on my wish list for years. I've heard so much about it. I just want to see if it lives up to everything I've heard.
Yeah, I know loads of people who have been here, mainly on stag parties, so I'm looking forward to showing them what's on the outside of the four walls of a pub.
Well, let's do it then. For our city break in Krakow, we based ourselves in the main square in the Old Town. Day or night, this square is so vibrant and teeming with people. It is the largest medieval square in Europe and is the centre of everyday life here in Krakow. Now, it is very touristy, it is full of people, that may not be your thing, but just look around you. You could be in worse places. No matter what way you turn, there is something colourful and surprising to see, and there are a couple of unmissable highlights.
This giant bronze face is affectionately known as the Head. It was created and designed by Polish sculptor Igor Miterai and is one of the city's favourite landmarks and the perfect place for a holiday snap.
Maybe unsurprisingly, this is generally the shot that ends up on people's mantelpieces. In the centre, you'll find the square's most impressive building, which both shopaholics and architecture anoraks will get a kick out of.
The Cloth Hall is a beautiful old Renaissance building that has been home to local businesses for over 700 years. It was originally the place where textiles and salts were sold, but now you're much more likely to find souvenirs, traditional Polish craftwork and a ton of jewellery. Maura Boyle from Gweedore in County Donegal told us that this is the perfect place to stop off and get your little knickknacks and presents in one fell swoop.
Make sure to stock up on zloty, the local currency, as not many places accept euro.
Can I see this one here? This little necklace is silver and gold plated. It's 50 zlotys, which is in or around 10 quid or 12 euro, which is a serious bargain. Aren't they really cute? That is cool, isn't it? You'd fit a good, decent slab of butter in that one. Little eggs, it's a salt and pepper. Caw-caw! Caw-caw! Ding-ling-ling. Oh, there's no bell in it.
There are so many ways to see the city. Segways, tour buses, boat trips, take your pick.
Many of you, including Maureen O'Mahony from Cork, suggested taking a walking tour. There are loads of them around and many of them you can join for free. And they are a great way to see the city, get your bearings and find out what you want to explore a bit further later on.
But I went for the cheesiest option. Most tourists can't resist this.
Once I saw the feathers, I just couldn't resist. Not like the horses you find in Dublin.
Eileen Call from County Donegal said if you're going to visit any churches here, you definitely have to visit this one. She said the gold, the murals and the altar are absolutely stunning. The outside of St Mary's is dramatic enough and it kind of prepares you for the inside. This is one of the most ornate churches I've ever seen. Everywhere you look, the styles just come out at you. Renaissance, Baroque. It's arresting as soon as you walk in. And the more you look around, it's kind of overwhelming. But one of the most interesting things about the church is the bugle call, which can be heard from the top of the tower. Brilliant. That happens every hour on the hour in the top tower of St Mary's Church. It's called the hymnal, traditional Polish tune. Now you might notice he stops kind of abruptly halfway through it. Now there is a morbidly hilarious reason for that. Back in the 13th century they used that tune to warn about attacks upon the city. And back then the trumpet player was giving it a bit got shot halfway through. So they commemorate it like that to this day. It really is very Python-esque, is it not?
There are lots of places to eat on the square. However, we suggest you check out the restaurants in the surrounding streets. They're a bit cheaper, and you recommended this one.
On Twitter, Catherine McCloskey from Belfast said we should definitely check out this restaurant. Let's see what it's like. It feels like you're in some wonderful old eccentric lady's sitting room, and the menu is as homely as the surroundings. Now, Catherine suggested that we have the dumplings, or the pierogi as they're called here, so let's go.
A plate of traditional dumplings will set you back around £4, so it won't break the bank.
Sorry. Hang on there. I don't know what they taste like. They're not like fried dumplings that I know. They're quite stodgy. I think you definitely need a nap after a plate full of these, but it's good, hearty Polish food. Kind of comfort food at its best.
Another gem we discovered just off the square is this quirky little shop which specialises in Poland's signature drink, vodka. This frankly looks amazing. Explain to me how this works.
First of all, you may taste it.
Okay.
If you wish. And all of them are kind of homemade alcohols. So maybe you will wish to taste now. So.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Very
oh, the peach
traditional.
one. Has a fine nose. Yeah, that one's good. Like that one, yeah. And once you've found your favourite tipple, you get to choose your favourite bottle. There you go. That's not something you get everywhere, and it comes in a cute little package like that. What better way to say to somebody, I was on holiday and I was thinking of you. It's hard to find a good, genuine flea market these days, but this one, a lot of you recommended. The market at Hala Targowa is open daily, but we've been told it's best on Sundays. How much for this set here, the coffee pot set?
20 euro.
20 euro. I will take it, thank you. I've never seen one of these before. This is like a really early moped. I know a few mods would love this. Oh, why, she's good yoke that there. Some poke in there, eh? I could totally pull this off, couldn't I? Man. That is the only way to travel. Look at this elegant case. Oh my word, look at that. And there's for your chipmunks, I mean for your underwear. Fold your cravats, your ties here. How much is this? He's asking for 300 zloty, which is about 60 quid. 70, 80 euro. Which is a good price for something like this, I think. But I do love a haggle. Here we go, 200. Come on, it's real, look. Real money, there we go. Yeah, we good? Thank you very much. I'm a happy traveller. I feel like David Niven. See, this is my idea of heaven. See, markets like this is a proper neighbourhood market. I mean, tourists do come here, but this is what the real Krakow is about. I got myself a beautiful suitcase and a wee coffee set. I'm a proper travelling gentleman.
And while Joe's bagging a bargain, I'm about to work off those dumplings.
You can do individual or group bike tours, but today Michał is going to show us the Krakow ropes. Go for it.
We're right on the right side here.
Oh, right.
We're in Poland.
I know, I keep forgetting.
We stuck to pathways and pedestrianised areas, but if you're going on main roads, make sure to wear a helmet.
So this is called Lovelock Bridge.
Colloquially, yes. Otherwise, it's called Klatka Bernardka, named after a famous monk. But as you can see today, it's covered in padlocks with people's names on them, and known as the love locks. People put their names on them, couples, lock it to the bridge, throw the key into the river.
And hope for the best.
Well, sealing their fate forever, right? Although I have found one lock with the name scratched off.
Oh, really?
You can choose anywhere in the city to explore, but we decided to visit the Jewish ghetto.
We're standing in what's known as the Heroes of the Ghetto Square. This is a memorial to the Jews lost in the Holocaust. Each one of these chairs represents 1,000 Jews that once lived in Krakow, so there are 68 chairs today. Collectively, they also represent the huge pile of furniture that was once left here. The Nazis decided that they want to eliminate any evidence that there ever was a ghetto here. So they sped up the process of moving the Jews from the ghetto to the concentration camps. When the Jews are being told that they're being relocated yet again, they've of course expected to bring all of their possessions with them. They brought them here to this square, which is where the transports were leaving from, but when they got onto the transports, the Nazis made them leave all their things behind. So a huge pile of furniture was left in this square, and that's what these chairs are also symbolizing.
Many of the tours of the city stop at this factory, which pays homage to a very important man. Ruth McAllister from Belfast said that when here, we definitely have to visit Schindler's factory and its exhibition. And of course, he was portrayed by our own Liam Neeson in the film Schindler's List. The centrepiece is the office of Oskar Schindler, which has been preserved. Now, you're probably familiar with his story. Oskar Schindler was an ambitious German businessman and member of the Nazi Party. In 1939, he took over this enamel factory, and his initial intention was to make as much money as he could with the forced available Jewish labour. However, as the war went on, he realised the injustice of his actions and decided to save those Jews who worked for him. By the end of World War II, it is estimated he had saved around 1,200 Jews who passed through his factory. In the middle of Schindler's office, you'll find this permanent installation by Michael Urban. On the outside, you'll see the sort of enamelware that would have been made here at the factory during the Second World War. And inside, on the walls, this is Schindler's List. These are the names of people he saved. And it really kind of affects you, when you see these names of people who basically Schindler saved their lives. The exhibition is extensive, and Eamon Hackett from Dublin said the attention to detail is impressive, and he's right. Amongst the exhibition are accounts from people who lived in the Jewish ghettos back then, one of which being film director Roman Polanski and also writer Stella Muller. And she writes here about when they were basically clearing part of the ghetto, and part of it was an orphanage. It says, "The horrible screams of the children come from the street, their cry for help to the disgusting guffaw of the amused Germans. They are throwing children out of the windows onto lorries. Sometimes they miss." If city breaks aren't your thing, you might want to try a short break a bit closer to home.
This is Rupert. Yes, this bad boy has a name.
And I've hired him to take me on a tour of the North Antrim coast.
We're going to be doing some activities and a bit of R&R too.
You can reach the North Antrim coast in just over an hour from Belfast, but I'm making a scenic detour that takes me along one of the North's most iconic roadways.
Fans of Game of Thrones may recognise this tunnel of twisted trees as the route used by Arya Stark to escape King's Landing back in Series 2. But to the locals, it's known as the Dark Hedges.
It's one of the most photographed spots in Northern Ireland, so obviously it's a good place for a selfie. Another favourite stop off along the coast is Dunluce Castle. Perched on an outcrop of rock and connected by a bridge, you can see why the original occupants chose this place to defend themselves from any potential foe. And over the past few years, archaeologists have uncovered evidence that Dunluce was an important trading town during the early 17th century.
There are tons of stories and myths surrounding Dunluce Castle, but my favourite one has got to be that they closed down the annual fair due to excessive bawdiness and debauchery. Sounds kind of like a medieval version of Electric Picnic. White Park Bay is just down there and around the headland, the famous Giant's Causeway, but I'm heading to the sunny seaside town of Portrush.
Portrush is a popular family destination in the summertime. This seaside town has great beaches, some good bars and restaurants, and a legendary amusement park.
This is why your kids will want to come to Portrush, and while there's plenty of stuff to entertain them, the highlight has got to be Barry's Amusements.
Barry's was set up by a circus trapeze artist Francesco Truffelli in 1925. And the main attraction, the Big Dipper, was first built in 1939.
This is a real old school seaside holiday resort, so you may as well just go with it.
Just around the corner from Portrush is yet another fabulous beach, perfect for water sports.
You can't come to the North Coast without at least trying to get out on the water at some stage, and today I get to try something I've been wanting to do for ages.
Paddleboarding is becoming more and more popular, and surf school instructor Ricky Martin is going to give me a lesson.
Now, good news is it's dead simple. You're just going to get your paddle, put it on the deck of the board, lie down, get under your knees, stand up, and away you go.
Easy as that.
Easy peasy.
Okay.
After a shaky start, I get the hang of it pretty quickly, and before long, I'm looking like a pro. It was all going so well, until Ricky thinks I'm getting a bit cocky and I end up getting an early bath. There are loads of accommodation options along the north coast, including several camping and caravan parks with pitches for all shapes and sizes. I'm taking this opportunity to explore my little camper van's interior.
Inside our little camper, we have everything you could possibly need. There's a fridge up front, you've got crockery, tea towels, loo roll, essential for camping. There's a cooker, there's a sink. Now, believe it or not, this camper van sleeps 4, which would be a little bit cozy, but I've got it all to myself, so I'm going to chuck on the kettle.
If you want to hire Rupert or a similar camper van, it'll set you back around £285 for 2 nights. This includes insurance and a 20-minute tuition session to get to know your camper. My last stop on this trip is the stunning Port Stewart Strand. An awesome 2-mile stretch of beach. Perfect for a relaxing evening stroll.
Well, this is the end of the road for me. The North Antrim coastline ends here. Mussenden Temple is in the distance with County Donegal just beyond. But I reckon that's a trip for another day.
This week we're taking a city break in Krakow in Poland, where so far we have visited the main square of this historic church, indulged in some retail therapy, and now we're visiting a place a lot of you recommended.
I'm visiting one of Krakow's most famous landmarks, Wawel Hill, with its magnificent grounds, cathedral and castle.
This site is the city's earliest settlement. The castle was home to the kings, and the cathedral was the burial place of some of the best-known Polish heroes.
It's best to visit here early in the morning, as it can get really packed. The exterior is stunning, but you can also have a snoop around the inside of the castle. During the Renaissance, some of the very best artists and architects from all over Europe were brought here to work on this castle. This particular room is where they held some of the most important state and court ceremonies, from theatre performances to balls and right the way through to weddings. What I'm trying to think is what kind of wedding dress you wear to justify getting hitched in this place. And you can't leave Wawel without visiting the fire-spitting dragon at the bottom of the hill.
Apparently, the town of Krakow was founded by a young dragon-slaying prince known as Krakus. Now, the legend goes that this giant dragon terrorized the whole of the town and had a particular fondness for young virgin women. In a bid to save his daughter Wanda, he offered her hand in marriage to the first guy who could take this dragon down. And so, a young cobbler came up with the genius idea of laying a trap full of sheep stuffed with sulphur. It worked, and the dragon exploded, and to this day, all that's left is a bronze monument in his honour.
In Getaways, we love to take you off the beaten track, and with your help, we've unearthed some of Krakow's coolest things to do. Harry Wade from Carrickfergus told us, if you're visiting the Jewish Quarter and you're here at the end of June, then you cannot miss one of the city's major festivals. What happens during the Jewish Cultural Festival?
Our Jewish Cultural Festival in Krakow is one of the largest Jewish festivals in the world. It lasts 10 days, and within those 10 days we present more than 300 various events. Everything which will just make our Jewish culture very available and understandable for people.
There are a number of workshops to choose from, such as this one on Jewish Indian cuisine. Okay, what do we got here?
Here we have potatoes, aloo malaka, apricot chutney, mango chutney, coconut chutney, and cauliflower salad. I haven't eaten yet. So
I love
let's
chutney.
Let's try.
I'm a chutney man.
What's this? L'chaim.
For a bird's eye view of the city, try this balloon flight, which will cost you around £7.
It's not a traditional hot air balloon, there is no fire, it's not free flying, but it's 133 metres above the ground. So if you're terrified of heights, probably not the one for you, but it does feel really, really secure. There's a net in front of our view, but actually, once you get past that, it shows you absolutely everything.
Okay, Bwaji, unleash this speed beast. And one suggestion I really like came from Eamon Hackett from Dublin, who suggested this, a tour in a trabant. A guide takes you to different parts of the city and gives you the lowdown on its communist past. So what was life like here during communist era?
It was, of course, kind of like a hard life, because as a laborer's paradise, this factory, which was the major employment of the citizens of the city, was actually as well heavy industry location. So if you can imagine a factory that works 24 hours, 7 days a week, no time for rest, time for production. This is one of the slogans of communism, right? Work, work and produce, and this is how life goes on.
You'll see areas of the city which are very industrial, but it's a real insight into an important part of Krakow's history.
One of your top suggestions was to take a 30-minute trip out of the city to see a very unusual attraction.
Rock salt has been mined in Poland since around the 13th century, and miners have worked here for generations, creating a magical underworld made entirely out of salt. Now, it's definitely on the hit list for anyone who visits Krakow and attracts a whopping 1 million visitors per year.
And no wonder. It's hard to believe, but everything here has been carved from rock salt and salt crystals.
Thank you for taking us around the mines. How did this particular chapel come to be?
The work of miners was always very dangerous. There were floods, there were fires, there were explosions of methane. That's why they wanted to pray. So finally they created these 40 chapels on the ground. This is one of them, the Chapel of St. Kinga. 3 miners, 3 amateurs carved this chapel during 67 years. The first started to carve here in 1895. It took them 67 years because they never carved together. All these things carved around, they are stories from the Bible.
What I really, really want to know is it okay if I lick the walls?
Walls, yes, but statues and reliefs, no.
We're now really deep underground. There are 815 steps that take you from the very top to the bottom, and just to give you a sense of the sheer scale of the place, you could fit the Eiffel Tower in here and still have a few metres to spare. It's kind of nuts because when you look around, you realise that every single thing here is made of salt. From the floors to the ceilings, the beautiful sculptures and the incredible chandeliers. There are 40 chapels in the mines, but this one is by far the coolest. It's also apparently the deepest chapel in the world at 101 metres below the surface.
We caught up with some tourists who advised us to visit Auschwitz, which is a 1-hour drive from Krakow.
It was shocking, but it's well worth seeing if you're in Krakow. Like, you have to go to see it, more or less.
The guides knew very detailed stuff as well about it that they were telling you, so it's good that way.
It puts you on edge to see it, but it's worth it to go there, you know. I mean, it's happened, and the thing is written inside there. It says, without knowing history, it can happen again.
This memorial consists of 2 parts of the former concentration camp, Auschwitz I and Auschwitz II Birkenau. This is where the Nazis established their largest concentration and extermination camp. At first they held Polish prisoners here, but from spring 1942, this became the biggest site for the murder of Jews. Over 1.1 million men, women and children lost their lives here. On a daily basis, people were herded off trains and chosen to either become prisoners or to be exterminated. This is one of the barrack buildings, the sleeping quarters, the female barracks building to be precise. This room would have held 700 people. Extremely cramped conditions, sleeping 3-tiered, floor, middle and top. Now at the minute the floor is concrete, then it would have been earth, and when it rained that would have been mud. So as well as contending with that, with the cramped conditions, you'd have had lice, rats, and excrement. Just horrific conditions. Behind me are the remains of one of the gas chambers. You would have had 2,000 people at any one time filed in here, told to remove their garments, told to hang them up on hooks that were numbered, and told, remember that number so you can claim your clothes on the way out. A grotesque lie. They then were brought in to the chamber next door, where they were gassed, exterminated. After that, the women's heads were shaved for their hair to later be sold. The bodies were examined for hidden valuables, gold teeth. After that, they were brought to the ovens, where they were cremated, and their ashes scattered in the forests and fields and rivers around the camp. And what you have to remember is the people who were tasked to do this were other prisoners in the camp, forced into doing something so monumentally inhuman. At Auschwitz I, you'll find many collections of possessions from people who died here. The exhibits of personal possessions really bring it home to you in the museum. All these shoes, they represent people whose journey ended here. I think by coming here and seeing what human beings at their worst are capable of will maybe help us ensure it doesn't happen again. Because the thing that freaks me out the most, and always has done, this only happened 70 years ago. It's one lifetime away.
In the historic city of Krakow, you'll find all sorts of holiday experiences and some amazing and memorable sights. If you're taking a holiday here, there are a lot of good accommodation options. We stayed in Andel's Hotel, and one of the best things about it is its central location.
This is a fairly standard business hotel, but it's modern, it's fresh, and the food is fairly decent too. Now, the appeal with this particular place is that it's right next to a gigantic shopping centre, seconds away from the train station, and just a 5-minute walk to the main square.
3 nights bed and breakfast costs from £339 per person. This includes flights and transfers.
Another option is the Holiday Inn, which is very good value for money. 3 nights bed and breakfast costs from £319 per person. This price includes flights and transfers.
If you're an independent traveller, you may want to check out self-catering apartments like this one, which are all located close to the main square and tourist attractions. This apartment will cost £92 for 1 night and sleeps up to 6 people.
We booked our city break to Krakow with Travel Solutions. For more information on all our destinations, visit bbc.co.uk/getaways. I absolutely love this place. You can have such a varied holiday depending on what you want in this place. It's great.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that usually with the city break, you think of a long weekend, 3 days tops. But I think you could definitely spend a week here.
Highly recommended.
Definitely. We'll see you next time on Getaways.